Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on another High Performer Building Pulse. Today we are joined with Malcolm, the CEO of Certified Builders, and we're going to talk to him about all sorts of things in the industry and what they're seeing out there, as he's going to have a pretty unique perspective on things. So Malcolm, thanks for being here.
Nice to be here, Tim. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, do you want to just tell us a little bit of your story and who you are and what you do, and then I can ask you again, or you could just kind of roll into how that fits into Certified and what you guys are trying to...
Sure. So by way of background, I was born in a hydro town in Twizel. My father is a civil engineer. He ran the concrete materials lab back there.
Yeah.
So that's sort of my lineage, if you like.
Yeah.
I entered the construction industry with resine paints in the the mid-1990s.
Yeah.
And from there went off to university and did an undergraduate degree.
Yeah.
And it was a hybrid between construction, which they ran with the QS school there, and property. Decided to take a different trajectory. I was about mid-40s at that point in time. And my first role out of that was as entering membership space. I was the chief executive of Institute of Building, and I was there for 7 years.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And tail end of that, I always think 7 years is a pretty good timeline for chief executive. The opportunity came up with Certified Builders, and I've been there for the last 3.5 years now. Awesome. I'm also a member of the Building Advisory Panel for MB. And I've had other various leadership roles, including the chair of the Construction Council, which I came off about 18 months ago.
And I mean, the last 3.5 years, that's a interesting period.
It's been a fascinating period. Like when I entered started the role at Certified Builders, we were running at capacity in this industry.
Yeah.
We were at exceeded 42,000 new home consents for the first time, 2022, the year I started, I think is about right. Might be a year off. And so we're absolutely frantic. One of the first tasks that I was given was to work with other stakeholders like master builders and talk with MB about pushing out H1. The rollout of that, which was scheduled to be November 2022, but at that point in time, the industry was under stress, and so just couldn't manage that rollout. So we together as an industry, I then joined as the industry voice on a three-way collaboration between brands who hosted the H1 Hub in the end, and MB and industry, and I was chair of Construction Council at that point in time, I think. So I was industry. So that was a really good industry government piece of collaboration that came out. So getting back to 2022, that's where we were.
Yes.
We were worried about building products and lack of that sort of coming through the system, and how can we get our projects completed with scarcity of labour, all the rest of it. So, and ongoing price escalation, almost on a fortnightly basis, the merchants would come out and talk about there's been a price escalation, and previously they might have had 2 of those a year. So they were really, looking back now, very heady times, and very different times. And then within 18 months, it had gone completely the other way, and that the pipelines of work for builders and designers and architects was shortening. And people were leaving the industry. Central government projects had been put on hold. There was incoming government. And it's a whole different landscape. And we've been in a very tough market and for the last couple of years, which there are some signs that we're coming out of now.
Yeah. I'll come back to where we're at and how things are going, but I'm really interested in what were some of the lessons you were seeing coming, because supply was a big issue, and some of the government changes and things that they were trying to do were about increasing supply. Have we done anything as an industry to ensure that next time round when we're under the pump and we've got a lot to do, we have more redundancy in the system from a supply side, from building materials?
Yeah. We really haven't seen that. There would have been a perfect opportunity to be able to create some local manufacturing capacity in areas that we don't have that capacity at the moment.
Yeah.
And looking at new opportunities for suppliers that are new to New Zealand to come in.
Yeah.
Government's played a role in that. Of course, they're looking at overseas building products and that new act.
Yep.
And they're doing quite a little bit of work on that. They started with the Australian watermark scheme, which you're probably aware of. And there's thousands of products now that, well, to be fair, they're already available here in New Zealand for the most part. But that's been the first cab off the rank in trialling that. They're looking to extend that.
Right.
So I don't know that we really have taken the bull by the horns there.
Yeah. Let's come back to where we're at now. What are your members feeding back? Where are they at, and what are you guys trying to do to support them? And what do you think that industry should be doing at the moment to best navigate the time they're in?
So first of all, I'll pick up what we've been doing for our members over a really difficult time. So we had the view, what is the best thing that we can do for our members, and we've got 2,300 business members out there, and they're all trade qualified in carpentry, otherwise they couldn't be a member of ours. So what's the best thing we can do for them right now in a very difficult time? And the best thing we could do for them is generate higher levels of brand awareness of New Zealand certified builders, and generate some leads for them. So that was at the forefront of our thinking. So we completely changed what we did in the marketing space. Changed up our provider of our advertising, and created Find a Builder You Click With.
Okay.
And there's a suite of about 5 or 6 short, sharp little videos, a lot of fun, creating some personality. We hadn't been in that sort of area before. 12 million views on at least one of those little videos over the course of the last 6 months or so. We now track our brand awareness, which sounds probably crazy that we never did before, and it is crazy that we never used to. So we now do that, and within 12 months, we're 90% increase in the brand awareness.
Great.
Spent a lot of time in the advocacy space, which I'm sure you've noticed. It's rolled out a couple of weeks ago with the liability settings changes, and we're alongside the Minister on that one. RMA this week, we've been a commentator in that space. So that's really, we cranked up a lot. What's useful about that for our members is a couple of things. So when I'm out there talking to our members, and I was up in Whangarei a couple of weeks ago, 40 members turned out to see myself and some of my colleagues up in Whangarei. And so talking to members as I go around, they're now saying to me, we're no longer having to explain to homeowners who are thinking of engaging us as their builder who New Zealand Certified Builders is.
Great.
So that's a success. And also the campaign is generating clicks through to our Find a Builder on our website. So generating leads that go through to the builders as well. So that was the one thing, just doing a lot of work on the brand.
Great time to do that too, because when things turn right, that's just going to escalate, right?
And the other thing we're doing is, what can we, looking at our membership base, the 2,300 business members and about 450 individual members, but they don't trade, they might work at a place like this. So they're all trade qualified, and for over 90% of them, that's the only qualification they have. And as their business is starting to get up and running, they get themselves into some difficulties, really simple things. So we've created a suite of primarily online products, which is called NZCB Learn. And this has been a real investment by us in education. We want it as a strategy to be education-led. So I thought it was a glaring omission when I joined Certified Builders. So what does all that mean? So we've created a whole new department, if you like, of educationalists. So the lead of that is an ex-teacher. And so bringing a suite of AI assisted on learning.
All right, we'll circle back around to that because there's so much to talk about. I'm interested in some of these policy changes that have come through. So we've talked briefly about international products, but not really. We've touched on it. Where do you guys sit on this side of things, and where it's landed or landing? What's been your thoughts so far?
So with the suite of policies that have come through, and generally we've been supportive of them. So if we perhaps just sort of start picking off some of them in particular we can sort of
Yep.
flesh out a little bit. Yes, welcoming of the overseas building products. The really critical part here, we talked earlier about water market from Australia being the first one, and that's the low-hanging fruit, is to really ensure that the certifications that are being provided by the trusted jurisdictions can be relied on.
Yes.
And then there's that whole discussion of, so that's all fine for plumbing products and anything that's inside the building envelope, anything that's outside the building envelope or presents the building envelope. We've got harsh climate here and horizontal rain and all that type of thing. So it's got to be made sure that it is going to be coping and be durable for the environment that is New Zealand. The big message that we've been imparting to officials, to the Minister, has been that any new entrant in here needs to stand behind and support the product, because that's what the industry is used to.
Yes.
And there's some players here, and some we've talked about already, the likes of the Jib and the Resines and so forth, do that really well. And they provide that support both at specification and design for the architects and designers, but also for the builder under construction. And so if there might be a detail missing, or there's something to be resolved on site or installation, there's support to be drawn on. If something goes wrong, there's a support there as well. Really critical, because if that does not exist, getting back to some of the early commentary we had about the risk aversion right across the system, they will again default to what is proven for them.
Yeah, and trying to avoid just simple importers. Right, actually, so people trying to actually genuinely deliver a product that, performs or competes of one way, and like you say, getting around it and supporting it, as opposed to someone who sees an opportunity to bring a cheaper version of something and bring it in a box and sell it on a shelf, and kind of want to be hands off.
Yes.
So do you think the policy setting is right, or do you think there's something else needed there in terms of a watchdog?
Well, MB are looking to take the role of doing the checking, if you like, to ensure that the product is certified as it should be, and the certification for the product aligns with the standard here.
Yeah.
So they're undertaking that. That's going to be a really large project for them to undertake. But the industry needs that certainty, and if you can couple that with what we talked about, the support by whoever's bringing it and distributing around the country, and the industry can see that, both from design and build side, there should be support.
Okay, so let's talk about this other policy around risk now sitting with the builder, or more risk. And I'm not going to pretend to know everything about the bill, so you can give me a snapshot around that.
So we're talking about the announcement a couple of weeks ago, which I was part of with the Minister, about a move from the well-established joint and several liability regime to proportional liability regime. So in fact, we're following what Australia did in a number of their states back in the 1990s.
Yeah.
So that's where the policy shift is. So really important to note that liability for each of the participants, design, build, consenting, doesn't shift. So everybody is still liable, just as they were previously.
Yeah. What
has changed is that if there is an issue with the build down the track, that if there's been no sort of guarantee or in place, and those guarantees have been in place, and we have one, a Halo guarantee, and master builders have one as well, is that if there's no one else, there was a problem, and it was judged through a process that the blame is attributed to a number of parties, and determined what the percentage lies with the builder and the building consent authority and everything, and that's always different for every single project. But often once that process had been completed, and say, just for the same example, the builder was responsible for, say, 10% of it, and the builder wasn't there, under joint and several, all the other players that are still solvent entities, and the BCA, Building Consent Authority, the councils always is a solvent entity, they absorb that 10% amongst themselves, or 20%, or whatever it is. So to be able to make that move to proportional Whereas if the builder's gone and their 10% or 20% is gone, they need to, and the minister was calling that the empty chair. If the builder's not there, who's going to fill that?
Yeah.
What is the recourse or pathway to recourse for the homeowner?
Yeah.
So this is a residential problem with a residential solution at this point in time. So it will become, when this new legislation comes into force, it will be mandatory for a new home, a homeowner, to take out what the minister is calling home warranties, and that can take a couple of forms. It can take existing home guarantees, the two providers, Hello Guarantee and Masterbuild, or an insurance, a building warranty insurance as provided, like Stamford's in the market at the moment. And they have one. There will be others coming to the market as well. So the liability doesn't shift from the BCA. They're still liable for whatever is deemed to be
responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So no one's getting off the hook.
No.
It's just that the BCAs don't, or anyone else for that matter, pick up the portion of somebody else's liability because that particular party isn't around to address it.
And then the homeowner having a bit of cover in there to fill a gap, essentially.
How it will work will be reasonably cost effective. So it's a homeowner cost. So it's typically about $1,500.
Yeah, right.
For a typical sort of $1.2 million house,
Okay.
that sort of order of cost. Right?
Yeah.
So they pay that, can only be available through a builder.
Right.
To pay to a home warranty provider, with an insurance company or the home guarantee. And so the builder has that cover for the homeowner. If there's a problem down the track, the product sits with
the homeowner. They're the registered party.
It sits with the house.
Yes.
So if the homeowner
sells
and moves on, the next homeowner has this. It's a consumer warranty.
Yeah.
It's like your car.
Yeah.
It's like your washing machine. So if there's a problem with it, the first point of recourse for the homeowner becomes really simple. Who provided the home guarantee?
Yep.
Contact that person. In our instance, and master builders would say the same.
Yep.
Okay. That's the builder. Builder's still around. Contact the builder.
Yeah.
The likes of ourselves have got massive amount of leverage over our builder.
Yeah.
Please engage with your homeowner to sort out the problem.
Yes.
And if there really is, it's a real issue,
yep.
then you need to go and fix it. And if you don't want to or cannot fix it, we'll put you aside and chase you separately,
yep.
and we'll look after the homeowner. We'll put in one of our members who can fix it.
Yeah. So you guys already have a guarantee, and it's kind of serving in that space already.
Yes.
That I assume you guys have a backing insurance or for that.
No, we're self-insured, the same as master builders as well.
Right.
And the same, exactly the same. So what that requires is a lot of actuarial involvement.
Yes.
And they're really quite difficult to get started with home warranties because of the full premium, most of it you have to put aside for future years.
Yeah.
So you need to have quite reserves building up to satisfy the actuaries that if there's going to be an issue down the track, which generally sit in years, whatever years they assessed, that you've put aside enough of that premium to be able to deal with that.
Yeah, right. And so if someone's not building with a certified or a master, they don't have some kind of warranty or guarantee, the builder becomes almost a reseller of insurance policies for them.
So there is two pathways.
Yeah.
Well, so one is become mandatory for a builder to be able to provide through a provider to their homeowner one of these products. So a homeowner needs to have one.
When you say mandatory, I'm assuming that's a licensed builder. So if you engage an unlicensed builder, then it's your own.
It's mandatory for a homeowner to get one of these home warranty products.
Right.
So
and the banks will be checking these things. when they get
we're
their
talking
heads
to the
around
regulator
it.
about the Building Consent Authority. We're checking these things as well.
Yeah, right. Good.
So, okay, so for a builder, they're thinking, okay, how do I obtain one of those? I can obtain one of those through trade association, New Zealand Certified Builders. They've got a Halo guarantee, Master Builders. And if they're not a member of one of those, they could join, or if they're eligible, or they can go and get an insurance product.
Insurance policy,
So if I think about the market, and again, this is a residential solution to a residential problem, about a third of residential builders are already members of New Zealand Certified Builders. A third, and this is really roughly, would be a member of Master Builders, and a third aren't a member either.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they couldn't be.
No.
Probably half of them could be, they just choose not to be.
Yeah.
So, and then of course there's the insurance market as well that they could call upon. So to get it answered back to your comment, so if a builder was unable to gain, say, access to a home guarantee, say through us because they weren't trade qualified, which is our prerequisite, or some other reason, and they couldn't gain access, become members of RMBA for whatever their criteria might be, because we've got criteria, it's not a risk. We're offering guarantees, and they can't get access to an appropriate product from an insurer whose sole business is to be able to sell these things. Alarm bells should be going off for the homeowner.
Yeah. Okay. So then let's go on to what is currently the RMA. Becomes two separate planning tools. Can you give us a little recap? Because you clearly have been following this stuff a lot closer than most of us. Where's that sitting? What do you think?
So, the biggest issue in the building sector, and has been for years, not going away anytime soon, is the cost to build. So you can sort of look at the actual material cost to build, etc. But you can also look at the land content. So time and time again, we go back to it's the land content which is the real problem. It can represent half the cost of a house. In terms of, the land cost us $700, it costs $700 to build. Those sorts of things are not uncommon. So from a Resource Management Act perspective, it has been really difficult to open up new tracts of land, to create sections, to get infrastructure underway to be able to support those. If I look at my hometown in Greytown, which is South Wairarapa, at the moment, both Greytown and South Wairarapa, there's no new connections available. And we've got that same problem elsewhere. We've got development contribution cost problems in Tauranga at the moment. They're quite separate from the rest of New Zealand. They charge at building consent stage rather than title creation, so it becomes a homeowner cost rather than a developer cost. So there's all those sorts of things going on, but the end result is uncertainty about opening up sites, uncertainty about what you can build on your site, and that creates it's time to resolve that and cost. So when it comes down to the builders who've got a client who just wants to get on with it, and the builder wants to get on with it, just want to build a home, that has been causing issues. And so this is looking at addressing that, and there's some discussion yet to be had about what's that going to do to the built environment if we're just going to have one set of rules to rule every single area in New Zealand.
Do you think it will achieve the efficiencies that it's intended to achieve?
From an efficiency point of view, and be able to clearing the way to getting sections to market for to be built on, infrastructure, this is going to assist growth, and being able to get a consent conforming set of plans for homes and buildings, I think it will serve the purpose. The payoff for that is higher risk of potentially poorer environmental outcomes, both sustainability with the land, but also So if I think about, I live in Greytown, and it's got a heritage precinct. on it. I've just been up to Russell and had a couple of days in Russell, and that's got a beautiful built environment that has a character. And I would probably share the view of a number of my members as well. We care quite deeply about those things. So the idea that those sort of controls for very special areas in New Zealand, to be able to slowly have those special identity eroded would be concerning.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And
so you
we
think
haven't
there could
seen
be a few things come in to get a few safeguards.
So I think we need to look at what getting the balance right on that.
Now I realise you need to be apolitical, so you'll need to be careful in answering the question. There's a lot of builders who out there at the moment who probably voted for National and now are quite frustrated at National, because for a lot of them what it's felt like at least is the tap just got turned off. They didn't just change direction, they turned the tap off and thought about it for 2-3 years, and now they're feeling the punch because they've had nothing to build for the last 18 months. Is the changes they're proposing, are they actually going to be beneficial for future years? Maybe the way they've done it, maybe not turning the tap off, all of that. I suppose the changes that they have brought into place, because there's actually been quite a few, and they're big, right? RMA, these things that we've been talking about, actually, they're not tinkering around the edge. They're trying to shift some big things that are supposed to help us as an industry deliver New Zealanders homes that are quality, get the costs down, and part of that is keeping it faster. Do you think the long-term outcome is going to be beneficial?
So let's separate two things here.
Yep.
One was the turning off the project pipeline, and that was very real.
Yeah.
And that was acutely felt right across the commercial and residential area.
Yeah.
So people may think, well, Malcolm, you represent SME residential builders, which I do in the main. But what has been occurring, and I saw this after the GFC when I had an architectural practice as well, that the bigger players, say, who are reliant on larger Kaingaora projects, which is the classic example, or large education works or health projects, suddenly they were geared up and were waiting that.
Yep.
It didn't arrive for the reasons we touched on before. Therefore, they've got to keep the machine going. So what we saw in the GFC and what we've seen in the last 24 months, right, we're going to drop down to lesser sized projects out of our lane.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into the lane that the SMEs were in, and we'll elbow them out of the way, because of Barrett marketing and all that type of things. And we're getting into the regions. So I hear from members, who might be in a regional location, suddenly, I'm used to doing $4 or $5 million school projects. Suddenly we've got a tier 2 in our patch doing that sort of work, and they never used to touch on it.
Yeah.
So there's a downstream effect of all of that as well.
Yeah.
And though most of my work is SME doing residential, but they've also do the small commercial works. They do the small schools works and things, particularly in the smaller locations, because they're quite versatile. So that's been a real thing.
Yes.
We're starting that the release valve is starting to be opened now, and we saw 2 big announcements over 2 days about 2 months ago. I think it was late September, around that sort of time. On a Monday, we had 400 and something, maybe $410 million worth of schoolworks announced, ready to go right across the country, and they are ready to go, which means they've already been consented. So they're examples of projects that have been put on hold. Right. Perhaps not consented, but would have been designed. Because they're talking about ready to go over the summer period. So that is great news for builders and the subtrades.
Yeah.
And the very next day, there was an announcement of $600 million worth of defence housing work. Similarly, onto the market. Not a lot of it ready to go now, but it's going to the architects and designers, which is great, because there's going to be a lag of 12 months before it is the builders and the subbies. Yeah. So that's examples. Then since then, we've heard about 5 hospitals. We've heard about the big naval base in Auckland, and we're starting to get some momentum. In the commercial side of it, we're starting to see some pressure coming on the system already. Yeah. Like in the last 2-3 months, they're already getting from commercial clients with quite big projects and central government starting to come to market
Yep.
and want, expressions of interest getting into pricing. Now we're getting, and as we've been sort of signalling,
Yep.
earlier this year when myself and others were in the commenting on we're losing skills, the pipeline of work is dropped down, and this is going to cause us some problems. That's starting to realise itself, and particularly in the commercial subcontractor space.
Right.
For example, there's lots of, from what I'm hearing, smaller commercial subcontractors of varying sizes are reconsidering, had enough, might be my age, had enough, not continuing, not going to be passing to the family and going forward.
Okay.
So that's starting to play out.
Yep.
I can touch on the policy setting side, or I can keep on going.
No, yeah. So in essence, tap off, tap slowly coming on, and so that brings hope. And I guess the tap went off for budgetary reasons as well as perhaps ideology reasons and how it was getting done. I don't know, but it certainly got real quick.
Yes.
But it's coming back around, so they might win a few builders back. But I suppose what the builder is also seeing is, was it worth it? The work they've done while I've been sitting on my butt trying to find a job, is it going to benefit my industry going forward? So, yeah.
So on that policy setting side of things, there is benefits going forward.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the key ones, the overseas building products. And again, I'll just reiterate, the success of that really depends on those bringing in the products and distributing, supporting that. So that's the key bit there. The RMA changes, certainly.
Yep.
The move from joint and several liability to proportional liability, that should make the BCAs, Building Consent Authorities, less risk averse. That's just one of the main triggers for doing this in the first place. The other ones that are out there at the moment are granny flats. For example, I can build up to 70 square metres as a separate building on an existing site, which has already got a house on it. What the take-up of that will be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
I think from a homeowner's perspective, they'll be given options.
Yes.
So they will have the option bypassing a building consent approach, and for a 70 square metre secondary dwelling, that might be a $3,000 building consent as a number. I can bypass that, don't have building consent, not going to get any building inspections, so quicker because I won't have the building consent, don't have to wait around with the building inspections and so forth. Okay, so I'm saving myself $3,000. Or I go down the traditional path and I'm going to know that it's going to be, the drawings are going to be assessed.
Yeah.
So gold standard, building consent inspections, all the rest of it, and they may well have a view that's probably worth $3,000 worth of risk mitigation.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's going to be a consumer decision. It's going to be really
so it'd be interesting
to watch that.
And that might depend on, really what you're talking about is peace of mind, but potentially also resale value, and it might be worth the $3,000 if it's, you're turning around and selling the thing.
Yeah,
most people are going to kind of agree with that. If they're not going anywhere and they just, particularly, I suppose you can see it getting picked up a lot by transportable homes companies, where I suppose your argument is you could always remove it again, I guess.
So I'm really fascinated to see how that all plays out. In terms of the self-certification, that is going to be quite a rigour and expense for a building company to be able to actually do all that.
Right.
So the general sense is that that's going to be a small number of group housing companies that do that.
Yeah.
In our discussions with the Minister and as officials, we think there should be a pathway there for SME builders to be able to do that.
Yeah.
It's going to be expensive, so in the main they probably won't want to be able to do that. So the take-up of that is probably going to be minimal.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
But something we haven't talked about, another policy change that was announced a couple of weeks ago with the proportional liability piece, was the beefing up of the powers of the Licensed Building Practitioner Board. So increasing the penalties that they could impose on builders who haven't been doing their job correctly. And so we've been supportive of that. But the point that we've made regularly ever since I've been in this role with the Minister of the day and with the regulator is adding additional ability to provide penalties, punitive aspect, like the stick, if you like, increasing the stick fine, because we've heard this term cowboy builders, and we're very much aligned with not wanting and clearing out cowboy builders, but also we need some carrot there as well. So we've been talking to government about you're introducing opt-ins for builders to be able to benefit from self-certification, which doesn't need building consents. You've an opt-in benefit to builders, granny flats who don't need. But just say that again. So with granny flats, they don't need a building inspection. For those with doing self-certification, don't need building inspections. And we're reliant on the current licensed building practitioner, the LPP scheme. So that was put in place 25, 30 years ago. And anyone who could call themselves a builder back then was grandfathered onto it and could be part of the scheme. And it was always on the basis that the requirement, the prerequisites to becoming an LBP carpenter would be on the rise. And there was even an LBP site, which quite a few of my members have, but it hasn't been any take-up because there's been no benefit for them to have it. So what we've been suggesting, you're imposing these penalties on road builders, supportive of that under the LBP board, but also why don't you put out the carrot as well? So if you want to be able to, as a builder, enter into the granny flat schemes that doesn't need a building consent, be able to self-certify doesn't need building inspections, you therefore need to have an elevated level of licensed building practitioner. You can call it LB plus if you like, just to make it simple. And to be one of those, an LB plus, you need to be appropriately qualified, trade qualified country or better. And you need to have a certain level of years of experience, and you determine what that is, but also a track record of the building consent authorities. That you're not one of these builders who use the building inspectors as your quality control measure. So those sorts of things that we've been talking about with government for quite some time, and more of a carrot to go along with a stick.
Great idea.
Incentivise good behaviour, incentivise using the best architects and designers, using the best builders.
I'd imagine they're pretty open to that.
They appear to be warming to the idea.
Now that he's starting to clear some of the other stuff off his desk, he's been a busy boy.
And he's been a very energetic minister, and he has been very engaged with
any engagements we've had with him, I've really felt like he's listened and taken action and confirmed, hey, getting this from all parts of the industry, But he's certainly done a lot in a few years. So
we've certainly enjoyed our interactions with him.
What are you hopeful for going forward? And is there anything else, or what else needs fixing?
I have always been hopeful for continuity of work, a steady stream of work to keep the industry busy. That the timing of when these projects come to market, and the greater control over that is going to be central government. So that the thinking of the forward project timeline, so that they're not putting, things are coming onto the market now. Hey, so now in the big end of town, and they can't cope with it. And of course, the prices are going to go up. If they put it into market in the last 18 months, they've got a different result. And then we wouldn't have lost the workforce. So one thing that's really of interest to me is, because I'm really very passionate about this industry, and it served me well in my life. My father's an engineer, my wife's an architect. And so I think it's a wonderful industry for people to get into, particularly young people or youngish people looking to change and move into our industry. And I often make the commentary, and it sort of lends into what we were talking about off camera before about innovation, is that this industry of the future, particularly in the commercial space, and I'd like to see more of it in the residential space, is going to become more and more high tech. And you just have to go online and look at B1M and those sorts of websites to be able to see that sort of thing. And people think, what's this guy smoking, talking about our industry being high tech? So I've been very much encouraging of people to think about industry, both in design and build site, for quite some time. So it's been disappointing to me that we've fallen in the last 2 years into the boom and bust.
Yeah, there was a sweet spot. I'm going to say 2 years ago. Maybe it was less, but there was this sweet spot. We'd come off the peak where we were too busy. But see, my thought is innovation happens in that sweet spot in the middle, when you're not too busy that you've just got to get shit done, and you're not so quiet that you've laid off staff, and you've got to be able to have enough work to keep the wheels turning, but also some capacity in the system to dedicate time to doing things differently and innovating.
Time to think.
Yeah, and we had this sweet spot, and I was feeling really optimistic about it, and we lost it, But I guess my hope is that the sense I have is when we rebuild out of this, we can't go back to doing what we always did. In some ways, this boom-bust cycle's been compressed. It's relatively, we'll see how fast we build out, but even then it may be, particularly residentially, it'd be a more gradual build out as opposed to another racing back into another boom, I think.
I think the residential side is going to be more gradual than the commercial. I'm getting a sense that the commercial's going to start climbing reasonably quickly. I mean, really commercials is always more constant, right? Just the length of the project, they have that ability to ride out a bit more. But I think we'll see in the next 12 months, we'll see a little dip in terms of activity for what hasn't been started 18 months ago. Whilst those commercial guys were still pretty busy, when the residential guys had nothing to do, I'm thinking there's going to be a little bit of a overlap there. But we'll see. So, something that I'll just touch on of what I've seen within the sort of certified builders membership base is a real ability to be, the whole resilience, the piece, and to be able to turn, because they're trade qualified, be able to pivot away from the traditional works, which might be new homes, for example. They've dried up. So they have been moving into alterations and additions, and that's about the only stat that is held up as being consistent. Or they've been moving into, in this neck of the woods up here in Auckland, in Hawke's Bay and Gisborne, cyclone and flood remediations. An example, about 12 months ago, one of our members was remediating horse stables. There's still going to be horse stables, but doing the school work while it lasted, and just doing different things and insurance
being
work.
Agile. And
exactly. And because they're trade qualified, they stay close to the project, stay close to their clients, and often don't have yards and all those sorts of things, so they can trim their costs. So I've been impressed by that side of it as well.
So still needs fixing is some mechanism for creating a little bit of consistency.
And continuity of the pipeline of work for those who can control a pipeline of work, like central government, for example.
In those areas. But it'll be interesting to see how some of these other policy changes, I imagine some of it will be helpful and some of it could not be, in terms of with a more efficient system, it will have less lag in it, which, it's great for getting things done, but also may take away some of the buffer when there's an economic shock or something that shifts. It might flow through a little bit quicker, even interest rate changes and things like that. So, but we'll see. Well, mate, thank you for joining us.
Oh.
Thanks for making the time, and appreciate what you guys are doing out there, and can sense your genuine passion for your members and desire to really see them do well, and that's awesome to see.
Yeah,
that's great.
And that's what running a membership association is all about, making sure that your member is at the centre of your thinking at all times.
Yeah, brilliant.